Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today we are going to take a look at Caius. So we're going to be doing a character guide here. We're going to go ahead and look at his artifacts, his spheres, do a little showcase, explain how he works. And there is a particular thing with his spheres that you do want to look out for to make this guy pretty darn ridiculous, so we'll talk about that. We'll start with his force enhancements. He has the standard force enhancements, and he is a big BT character, so if you want him to do a lot more damage, take him up to 30. Otherwise, you go with whatever investment you feel like you can afford, but just basically know as you're investing, you're just increasing the damage of his skills when that force meter is above 80%. And then there's other generic buffs in there as well. So just make sure you're looking at that. But there really isn't like you must go to a certain place. 23 is the standard level you go to get the generic, so that they're just helping the force gauge at like the highest rate they can. But if you're going to take it to 23, you might as well take it to 30 because you've got to invest the stones anyways. So anyways, let's go ahead and look at his artifacts, his spheres, and then we'll jump into the showcase here. So Caius in general, for those of you not familiar with him, he is a big-time debuffer. He is a damage dealer, and he does a lot of unbreak, rebreak shenanigans in his kit. That's actually really cool. He's actually a very nice character. I kind of like him. So for his artifacts, what you want to do is attack 108 and his C50, which is Imp Brave and attack up. Otherwise, just do attack 108, max Brave 330. That would probably be the secondary pick that I would do there. Now, his spheres. Things get very interesting when we go into his spheres. So Caius is a melee attacker, right? So in the A slot, you just want your standard attack and max Brave, or you could do like a melee damage sphere as well. That would be fine as well. I think Jack would probably be one of the better ones here because it's got attack and max brave damage up on it. I just put his own sphere on him. I typically do that a lot of times with characters, especially if I'm not sure what to do. So I just threw his own. While he's at max HP, raises Imp Brave and attack by 5%. I think that's fine. If you're worried about, part of his gimmick is about him not being at max HP. So if you're worried about taking a lot of HP damage, you might want to go with a different A slot. Just find a good generic one that's going to just buff his attack or brave damage, right? That's just one I had thrown on him because I had gotten it at the time. Now the C slot, well, let's do D slot first, and then we'll go through the C slot because the C slot's the big important one. The D slot, just do your standard attack up ones. So I think it's like Ash, Lease, Hope, something like that would work there. I have a Lease sphere on him to increase party attack. But the C slot. Best in slot here is you want a healing sphere, specifically a healing sphere that triggers when you attack a broken enemy or break an enemy. So I would say 9 and Theodore are like the two big ones here. So 9, what it does is when you break an enemy or attack a broken target, he's going to heal himself by 10%. And this is for the full sphere, but to do this trick, you can just have the refined one. It doesn't need to be a full one. That's fine. So the reason why this is significant is he has an overhead on him called Heart of Chaos that makes it so that if he were to die, it leaves his HP at 1. And then the overhead would go away, right? The way the game sees it is basically like you get hit, it checks your HP, and if your HP is at 1, the buff goes away. But what happens is he's got a debuff that breaks the enemies like right after the enemies act. So what happens is they take him down to 1. He breaks the enemies. 9 sphere triggers and heals him back up. Eye of Bahamut checks his HP. The HP isn't at 1, so it doesn't go away. It basically makes him unkillable. Like, you literally can't kill Caius. And I don't think the devs intended that. But you basically will have an unkillable character. So let's go ahead and hop in. I don't know if I'll be able to demo it on this stage, because these bosses might not be aggressive enough, but we'll see. If I feel like I can get it off, I might try. Here's what I might do. Just in case there's a chance I can show this off in this video, we're going to go ahead and put a Celis sphere on, or a Celis call. That'll just have the enemies lock onto him. So if I feel like, oh, he could potentially take lethal HP damage, we'll use Celis to lock the enemies onto him so that he gets attacked. So let's go ahead and hop in here. We'll talk about the kit in more detail here. So you guys can kind of see that. So we'll go ahead and hop in like this. I guess I could do crazy shenanigans like run him with Vivi and like take his HP down and try to like kill him. But so that's his overhead. It's just that eye. So he just gets that eye at the start of turn. And you don't do anything to apply it or reapply it. Doesn't have a turn count. He literally just has that until he takes lethal damage. Now it is also applying other buffs. So just know that if you do get hit, his HP goes down to 1. The overhead visibly will go away, but you'll still be getting the buff part of it. So it just means that you can die. So let's go ahead and do this. I guess this stage isn't bad because it's like the poison stage, but what we would want is we'd want the enemies to try to deal lethal damage. Now here's the other thing with Caius. You're going to notice the enemies start off with just a ton of debuffs. So Caius gets all of his buffs, all the debuffs, everything's up right away. So you literally can just start however you want with him. There isn't like a particular order you need to follow. But just know that he has everything at start. Now, as I go through and explain the skills, I'll explain like where the certain buffs and debuffs come from, so that you know which skills you should be using more often or less often, things like that, right? Okay. So we'll let this go off, and then we'll go into Caius's first turn here. So a couple of things that you want to look out for. If we look at Caius here, we're going to look at his buffs really quick. So let's go ahead and hop in here. Okay. So this body and soul buff that he has is one of his more important ones because it gives him the plus versions of his 15, his 35, and his EX. They all get plus versions based on this, which just make them do more damage. Now this body and soul buff, it gets refreshed on his EX, his 15, and his 35, and his LD. Like, pretty much any attack he does is going to refresh it. So you really don't have to worry about that running out. So I think you're going to be fine on that. So just keep that in mind. The other thing is the enemies are going to have some debuffs on them. Okay. Now, the LD, for it to be the best version of the LD, as long as enemies have a Caius debuff on, it's going to do the best thing it can. The debuff you want to look out for on the enemies here is this Doom Chaos. What this Doom Chaos does is anytime an enemy acts, they get instant broke. So even if they're unbroken, it'll re-break them and it pushes them back, which is really good for like a delay strategy. But then also when this debuff breaks them, 9 Sphere is going to heal Caius. So that's kind of like how this whole thing works. So you just want to make sure you keep that Doom Chaos up as much as possible, right? So we're going to start off with a free skill use here. So let's go ahead and we'll just do the set Doom Crush. What that does is it adds an extra turn of that Doom Chaos debuff. So you can see that debuff now is at 3. So that enemy's got 3 turns of the Doom Chaos. But that's just like a really good button because it's just like a free attack, right? So let's go ahead and let's do Pulsar Burst. Okay, so you can see that's more of a single target attack. It will get splashed with the plus version. Oh, so his body and soul, sorry. The body and soul that I was telling you about here, it is a stacking buff. So it wasn't at full stacks, so that's why we didn't have the full version. But now it did reach full stacks. So just keep in mind that first attack wasn't the plus version. So we'll go back to it here. And when we go back to Caius, you'll see he's got the plus versions now. It's just because we needed to get a stack on that to be at full stacks. Okay. So now we're at full stacks. Now you see we have Pulsar Burst Plus and Eye of Bahamut Plus. So basically, as long as you just keep that at full stacks and you get it refreshed, you're going to be fine. Which, as you're using your attacks, you're going to. So the Pulsar Burst, which we just used, it has Splash on it now that it's the plus version. And it will do a Brave gain. So let's just show it. This is the better version. Okay, and you see we got a little bit of Splash there as well, right? Now, the other thing is it gives him his body and soul. It, like, upticks that, so it gives it 2 stacks. And then refreshes that. And then the Guardian buff, he gets 6 turns of that. So we'll go ahead and swap back into Caius. So that also gave him a Guardian buff. That just gives him attack and max brave. And then any of his debuffs that he granted, it gives it plus 2 turns. So that's pretty good that it just like upticked all of his debuffs by a couple turns, which is very good. All right, so now let's go ahead and use Eye of Bahamut. So Eye of Bahamut, now that we have the plus version, it's just going to be stronger with more damage. That does also uptick that body and soul buff, like I said. But this is the main one. This Eye of Bahamut just gives all the debuffs. So if I press this, you're going to see like all the debuffs are going to refresh here. So look at all the debuffs just refreshed. That Doom Chaos goes up to 4 stacks there, which is very good. So we up the stacks of everything, refreshed it all. So that's pretty much your main debuff button. So if the debuffs are getting low, press that Eye of Bahamut. That's a very good button to press. So Garnet now, let's just go ahead and do this. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to swap to Caius, and we'll just go into his burst phase, because I want to show you his burst effect also, right? So let's go ahead and swap into Caius, because he is a burst character, but he is not a force character. Okay, so we're going to do that. So let's go ahead and hop into his burst. So we'll do this. Okay, so we can show the EX. So this is going to be Inferno Plus. So let's go ahead and press that. And my Caius is not green right away, right? So Caius definitely could look better than the numbers you're seeing here. He doesn't have full invested armor, does not have full invested BT weapon. Okay, so on the EX, he does get a launch. So he's got a little bit of launching in his kit also, which is very, very cool. So it does a party battery, AoE attack, delays the target's 1 turn, and then launches. So the EX is always a good button to press, so definitely press that when it comes up. Let's go ahead and show off the LD here. So this is Giga Gravitation. So what this is going to do, as long as the enemies have a debuff from Caius, it does an instant break. So it'll unbreak them if it needs to, and then just instantly break them. So Caius is all about doing a lot of breaks. Caius actually pairs very well with Gabranth because of all the breaking that he can do, which is very, very good, right? So then, as you saw there, big AoE attack, and then he gets a free ability use on his next turn, which that free ability use, I would either put that towards the AA, or I'd use on Eye of Bahamut to refresh the debuffs. Those are probably the 2 ones that I would do. And then this gives him 3 stacks of the body and soul. So if you wanted to like open with this to like get at max stacks like immediately, you could totally do that, and then refreshes that buff, right? So now we got the free attack, so let's go ahead and do Eye of Bahamut. This will upkeep all of the debuffs. Yep. And these debuffs, by the way, are very significant, right? So what you're getting is you're getting a 50% max brave down, 50% defense down, a 60% eye brave poison, and you're getting the instant break with the doom. So it's very significant debuffs. The thing with Caius you have to be careful with is if you pair him with another debuffer like a Gabranth, you got to be wary of like your 8 debuff slots, that you're not like overdoing too many slots. So he is a character you have to plan team comps around a little bit, that you don't want to overdo it and have too many debuffs on the team. But Caius is a very, very good, fun character. I remember I used him, I think the last time he came out, it was like there was a Dimension's End, and he was actually very, very good in there. I had a lot of fun with him in there. All right, so let's go ahead and do the burst attack. So here's the burst attack. In this burst attack, once again, just typical burst things with like a really big amount of damage. Now, if this is green, it's going to be more like 1,000,000 damage. Mine probably won't be that much, but normally I would be about like 1,000,000 AoE damage there. Burst effect is brave damage up, HP limit up, a 500% break bonus, which is really busted. So now with all of the Doom debuff breaking, we're getting a 500% break bonus on that, which is crazy. And then HP damage up on debuffed enemies. And then if the enemies have any Caius debuff, any action Caius takes will break and unbreak them. So he just instant breaks on any action he does now, which is kind of crazy. So let's go ahead and let's swap. Well, actually, let's just do some regular turns. I want to let the enemies take a few turns here so we can actually see that Doom debuff go off, because we haven't really shown that yet. Haven't really given the enemies a chance here, right? So let's play around a little bit. Let the enemies take some turns just so we can see how that Doom debuff works, which is very, very good. We'll just go ahead and do some regular attacks here. I've been doing too much like turn swapping with Rem that like the enemies just aren't getting turns. So let's go ahead. Sure, let's do Inferno again. Once again, this is going to be a nice little launch. So we'll just play around with Caius a little bit here. We'll go a little bit longer on this video, just so you guys can kind of see it in play. And then, like I said, so there was a break there, right? And that was from the burst effect. He just did an action, broke the enemies. Here's the other thing is because we're going to be constantly breaking, it's going to be hard for him to get a turn. But let's go ahead and try again. We'll just do this freak here. Sure. All right, and then we'll just do an HP attack with Rem. Sure, we'll just do this. Okay. It's like, it's very hard. I'm just trying to get the enemy's turns, because here's the thing. Caius's next action is going to break again. So they're going to get pushed back another turn. So like with a turn manipulator, it can actually get pretty nasty during his burst phase, because you can turn manipulate him up to the front. And then he's going to keep instant breaking, and you're just going to keep pushing him back. But I want to let the debuff actually do its thing here. Okay, let's go ahead and Pulsar Burst here. You see, the enemies both just broke. But now Rem will take a turn here, and then the enemies will finally get a turn. So let's do this. Alright, so the enemies will get a turn now. So watch what happens. They're going to do their action. Okay, and then they're just going to instant pop. Bam, broken. And then Caius is healing off of that, by the way. So instant pop, break. And see the little bit of healing there? 1,500 he healed. That's from that C slot sphere we put in. So basically, I don't think we'll be able to demo because I don't want to like sit here forever while I try to wait for Caius to get killed. I guess we can we'll let the enemies take one more action and see what they do. But sure, so basically you're just kind of watching and just make sure that that Doom debuff stays up, right? But like with this burst effect, like all the breaking and pushing back is actually kind of crazy. I'm sure we'll just do an attack here. All right, so let's let the enemies take another turn. Yep, just 0 damage there. Broken. Do another attack. Yep, 0 damage. Broken. Like, they're so debuffed, they're like not even getting damage. Oh, there was a little bit of damage. There we go. There was a little bit of damage. So it'd be kind of nice if we could get that off on Kai. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to try something here. Okay, so Rem actually died, which is good. So let's see if we can get Caius to, like, quote-unquote die here. Let's go ahead and use, we're going to lock him on. We'll try this. We'll try to get Caius dead here. Or attempt to be killed, right? Okay, so we're going to do that. So they're going to be locked on to Caius here. And then what we can do is let's go ahead and we'll just do Eye of Bahamut to reset their Doom debuff. I mean, they had still had like 2 turns on it, right? And then he got the instant break there. Garnet can be paralyzed. That's fine. All right, so let's see these guys like go after Caius a little bit. Well, see that gaze? I think that's some mechanic. I don't even remember what it is, but they're like auto-killing on a mechanic there. But that's fine. We'll have Caius go solo here, and I just want the enemies to try and kill him. Okay, so we're going to see if we can get his... This is crazy, by the way. Yep. This is kind of interesting. He's like healing himself back up like too quick. Sure, let's Pulsar Burst. Alright, come on. Try to kill him. I want to see his Eye of Bahamut go down to 1 and then not go down to 1. Sure, we'll do Eye of Bahamut again. The problem is like he's just... Okay, so his burst effect's finally gone, so he's not just breaking constantly. And they're missing. Okay, that's great. Okay, I want to see them try to take him down. Come on. We got to get this off here. The problem is like they're trying to gain brave and then they keep getting instant broke, so they can't build up enough attack to actually kill him. I don't know if this is gonna work. So, oh, this is funny. And then what I'm gonna do at this point is just keep refreshing Eye of Bahamut because I want them to have that Doom debuff on. We'll see if they can just he's gonna keep getting instant broke, so they can't gain brave. So. Anyways, guys, I'll explain it. I don't know if it's going to happen in this video. Like, he'll take the little bit of gaze damage, but then he just heals it back. So even Caius, like, without truly dying here, still isn't able to die. But anyways, the way this works, as I said, is if he were to take lethal damage, his eye would keep him at 1 HP, and then normally the eye would disappear, but because we're going to heal in between on the break, the eye actually will stay up there, and he just basically is invincible. So as long as you keep that Doom debuff on, Caius can't die. So anyways, guys, hope you like this video. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.